Hi, today we're going to read Anne of Green Gables, chapter 13. Anne takes a dare. That August, Diana had a party for the girls in her class. They decided to play a new game called Daring. Josie Pay went first. Jane Andrews, she said, I dare you to hop once around the garden on one leg without stopping. Jane lost the dare. She could only hop to the second corner of the garden. Then Anne dared Josie Pay to walk along the top of the board fence. Josie did it very quickly and easily. I don't think it is so hard to walk a little board fence, Anne said. I knew a girl who could walk the top of a roof. I don't believe it, snapped Josie. I don't believe anybody could walk on the top of a roof. You couldn't anyhow. I bet I could, Anne cried. Then I dare you to climb up there and walk on the top of Barry's kitchen roof, Josie said. Anne turned pale, but she walked to the ladder, leaning against the kitchen roof. The girls followed Anne. They could not believe she was really going to do it. You will fall off and be killed, Diana said. I have to do it, Anne said. My honor is at stake. If I'm killed, Diana, you may have my pearl bead ring. No one moved as Anne climbed the ladder. She balanced on the top of the roof and began to walk. She took 5 or 6 steps, and then it happened. Anne began to sway. She lost her balance and fell. Then she slid down the roof and hit the ground. Diana and the other girls rushed to the other side of the house where Anne had fallen. Diana knelt down. Anne, are you killed? She shrieked. Anne, speak to me. Anne sat up dizzily. No, Diana, I'm not killed, she said shakily, but I think I'm unconscious. Where? Sobbed Carrie Salone. Oh, where, Anne? Before Anne could answer, Mrs. Barry arrived on the scene and tried to get to her feet, but she sank back with a cry. What's the matter? Where have you hurt yourself? Asked Mrs. Barry. My ankle, Anne gasped. Oh, I can't walk home. I don't think I could hop there on one foot. Marilla was out in the orchard when she saw Mrs. Barry coming up the slope toward her carrying Anne. At that moment, Marilla knew how much she loved Anne. She knew that Anne was dearer to her than anything on earth. She hurried down the slope. Mrs. Barry, what happened to her? She gasped. Anne lifted her head and said, Don't be scared, Marilla. I was walking the top of Barry's roof and fell off. I think I sprained my ankle, but let's look on the bright side. I might have broken my neck. Marilla led the way to the kitchen. Bring her in here, Mrs. Barry, and lay her on the sofa. Mercy me, the child's fainted. Matthew came in from the harvest field and went to the doctor. The doctor said that Anne had broken her ankle. Later, Marilla went up to Anne's room with a tray of food. Anne was lying in the bed, her ankle in cast. Don't you feel sorry for me, Marilla? Anne asked in a small voice. It was your own fault, Marilla said. She pulled down the blind and lit the lamp. But what would you have done if someone dared you to walk the top of a roof? Asked Anne. I would have stayed on the ground and let them dare away, said Marilla. Such nonsense. Anne sighed. I'm not as strong-willed as you are, she said. I had to take Josie Pay's dare. If I didn't, she would never have let me forget it. Anyway, please don't be mad at me. I won't be able to go walk for 6 or 7 weeks. And Gail, I mean, everybody will get ahead of me in class. I feel very sorry for myself, but I will try to be brave if you won't be mad at me, Marilla. There, I'm not mad, Marilla said. Go ahead and eat your supper. Anne had many visitors over the next 7 weeks. Her friends brought her flowers and books. They told her all the news that everybody has been so nice to me, Marilla, Anne said. Even Josie Pay came over. I think she was very sorry she dared me to walk the roof. And Diana told me all about our new teacher. Her name is Miss Morel Stacy. She has blonde hair and blue eyes, and the puffs on her sleeves are the biggest in Avonlea. She has everyone recite poems or plays on Friday afternoon, and she takes everyone outside to study plants and birds. I can't wait to go back to school. I just know I'm going to like her. Marilla smiled and shook her head. Well, there's one thing I know for sure, she said. Your fall off the berry roof hasn't injured your tongue at all. Chapter 14. A Very Merry Christmas. Anne went back to school in October. A month later, the Avonlea students began to plan a Christmas concert. It was Miss Stacy's idea. Anne was very excited about the concert. Marilla thought it was nonsense. I don't approve of all these concerts, she grumbled. They fill children's head with foolishness. You should be busy learning your lesson. But it's for good cause, Anne said. We want to raise money for a schoolhouse flag. Fiddlesticks, said Maria. All you want to have a good time. Well, it is fun planning a concert, Anne said. Diana is singing a song. I'm going to be in 2 little plays and I'm reciting 2 poems. Oh, Marilla, I know you aren't as excited about the concert as I am, but don't you hope I will make you proud of me? All I hope is that you behave yourself, said Marilla. I'll be very glad when all this fuss is over and you settle down again. Anne sighed. Then she went out to the backyard where Matthew was chopping wood and talked to him about the concert. Well, I reckon it's going to be a pretty good concert, and I expect you'll do your part just fine, he said, smiling. Anne smiled back at him. She was glad that she had come out to talk to Matthew. He always made her feel better. One cold, gray December evening, Matthew came into the kitchen. He sat down in the woodbox corner to take off his boot. Anne and her friends were practicing for the concert, laughing and talking. For the first time, Matthew noticed that Anne was not dressed like the other girls. They were all wearing pretty, brightly colored dresses. He wondered why Marilla made Anne wear such plain, dark dresses. I'm going to give Anne a nice new dress for Christmas, Matthew thought. He decided to ask Mrs. Lynde to help him. Pick out a dress for you to give Anne, said Mrs. Lynde. I'll be happy to. I think a nice rich brown would just suit Anne. I'll sew it up too, if you like. Well, I am much obliged, said Matthew. And I think they make the sleeves different now. If it wouldn't be too much trouble, I would like them made the new way. You mean puffs? Of course. Don't worry about a thing, said Mrs. Lynde. I know just what to do. I'll make the dress in the very latest style. On Christmas morning, Anne came running downstairs. Merry Christmas, Marilla! Merry Christmas, Matthew! Anne shouted. Matthew unfolded the dress from its paper wrapping. Why, Matthew, is that for me? Anne asked. She took the pretty brown dress and held it up. Her eyes were shining. The dress was soft and silky. It had a lace ruffle on the collar and it had puffed sleeves. That's a Christmas present for you, Matthew said. Why, Anne, you're crying. Don't you like it? Anne set the dress over a chair. She smiled at Matthew. Like it? Oh, Matthew, I love it. Thank you. It's perfect. Look at those sleeves. Well, let's have breakfast, said Marilla. I don't think you needed a new dress, but Matthew got it for you, so take good care of it. Mrs. Lynde left you a hair ribbon to match. After breakfast, Anne met Diana at the bridge in the hollow. I have got something for you from Aunt Josephine, said Diana. She handed Anne a box. Anne opened the box. Inside was a card and a pair of little leather slippers. They had beads on toes, satin bows, and shiny buckles. Oh, Diana, said Anne, this is the best Christmas I have ever had. The Christmas concert was held that night. After it was over, Anne and Diana walked home together under the starry sky. Everybody just loved your recitations, said Diana. And when you ran off the stage, one of the roses fell out of your hair. I saw Gilbert blithely pick it up and put it in his pocket. That's so romantic, aren't you pleased? No, Anne said. I don't care what that person does, and I never will.